Got it.
Yo,
Howdy.
what's oh, here we go. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Ready.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Jorge Aquino coming to you live and direct right here out of the west side of the PHX. It's Tormenting Tarmac. Enthusiasts never die. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Date of recording is the day before Halloween. It's Hallows Eve, but by the time that you're listening to this, you might be getting ready to go ahead and celebrate your Thanksgiving holiday, and that'll be beautiful. We've got a full lineup of guests here tonight. I'm joined by three spectacular individuals from all different facets of the car scene, not just from Phoenix, but also we got Southern California calling in the building too. I'll go ahead and introduce everybody, but I'll go ahead and do a couple of plugs. You can, of course, find Tormenting Tarmac on Instagram at Tormenting Tarmac, and you can go ahead and find us streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and all that good stuff. And let's go ahead and get started into introducing a couple of different people here. The first person that I'm going to go ahead and be introducing was just on the podcast not too long ago. That happens to be the shop bitch over at Echelon Autosports, my main man, Matt Mecum. What's going on, Matt?
Hola, how's it going?
It's great to see you, my friend. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, man. You know I love you, and obviously, yeah, that was clearly a very a joke. He's got that on his IG handle.
No, it's
So
not a
Not a joke.
It's a very
and
real thing.
it's a very, according to them, it is a very, very real thing. Also from Echelon Autosports, the other individual that I have on this podcast here tonight happens to be one of my very good friends and someone who I owe a ton of gratitude and will continue to go ahead and owe a lot of gratitude within this car community, and someone who I have a ton of respect for, and we've just become very good friends over the last couple of years. That happens to be my good buddy, the GOAT, Cody Nogowski, CJN Photography. My brother, what's going on?
How are you? You're too nice.
Oh, well, I am nice because I have the utmost respect for everyone that comes on this podcast, and everyone that comes on this podcast means something to me in some way, shape, or form. So when you come on, it is an absolute treat, my friend, and it is great to see you. Fair warning to anyone that listens or watches Tormenting Tarmac. Cody's going to be on the pod at multiple times within the next couple of months. I'm just giving you a warning right now. We are up to shenanigans a couple different times, and we are going to be doing Nights of the Photography Roundtable Part 2 to end this year, and we are very excited. So there's a little preview for you, but just so you know, Cody's going to be on the pod a couple different times, and just get ready for it because, well, Cody says a lot of crap, and it's always fun. So there you go. And then last but not least, a newcomer to the podcast and someone who is doing absolutely awesome things over in Southern California, that being Devin Suter, Faster LLC of Cargroms over in SoCal. My brother, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, brother. It's a nice sunny day in San Diego right now, and I'm fired up after a long weekend.
Hell yeah, man. It's great to see you, and it's great to have you on. You're doing absolutely amazing things over in California. I mean, I've literally just watched like two of the Cargrom videos earlier today, and I was like, man, I need to get back out to SoCal immediately. and do and I
It's not bad out here for
no,
sure.
I know it's the best. I mean, and I mean that's saying something because me and Matt and Cody, like we're out here in Phoenix, and Scottsdale's doing it real big. I mean, this past weekend, which by the time that everybody's listening to it, it will have been a few weekends by now. But we had the tires and timepieces car show over at Hamra Jewelers in downtown Scottsdale, and dude, that was lit, man. It was really spectacular. The amount of cars that were there was unbelievable. I mean, Diablo SVs, um, Aston 177s,
Enzo, no.
Yellow Enzo, a silver CGT. Um, I know. Unfortunately, no LFAs. No, but honestly, it was pretty gosh darn spectacular. A ton of 911s. A 300 SL convertible, like that was pretty dope. I mean, there was a ton of stuff, and like just a forever reminder that Phoenix has got it going on. But we're not going to be talking about that necessarily tonight. We're going to be talking about Devin, and we're going to be talking about Cody, and we're going to be talking about Matt, and all the shenanigans that you guys are always up to. If I'm not mistaken, this past weekend, you guys were just hanging out, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Like, Cody couldn't even take my phone call because he was in the middle of driving back from California, and he was going through absolute areas with trash reception, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that is
Yeah.
correct.
It
Awesome.
happened.
But let's kind of get started because I've known Cody for now about a couple years, and Matt, I've known him for a little bit now too. And you know, Cody's been on the pod several times, and he always tells me, there's three particular people that he feels are kind of like his go-tos that have helped him continue to establish himself everywhere he goes. It's got, of course, shout out to Tyler, and then shout out to Blake, and then the other person happens to be you, Devin. Anytime that he's doing something wild in California, you're not too far in front, right? So how was it that the three of you like came together to kind of form this like little dynamic trio where you guys just kind of do everything and anything that you want?
Well, so I met Cody. I think we were at a PFS rally. It was the first time I even saw him, which shout out Logan. He puts on some pretty good stuff.
Nice.
Just sitting over there. He's like, yeah, man, I took photos, yada, yada. I'm like, all right, this guy's chill. Like, I'd like to hang out with this dude. I think it was the week, I can't even remember, but I think I was in the Pista. And then we just kind of connected. And then next time he came out, I can't remember what next time he came out. We haven't even known each other for a full year, which is crazy to think about. And I just met Matt, who randomly showed up in Palm Springs on Verduno, and like, oh, let's go do something. I'm like, dude, who is this kid? Like, just he's pulling his teeth out in the Huayra. I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's on something else. Just wild things, man. Just ever since fun, just fun times.
All right,
Awesome.
it's hard not to be smiling when we're all together. That's the problem.
Oh,
You
my
can't
cheeks are
feel
gonna
bad
hurt when this is all over, bro.
of us, I'm telling you
Yeah.
right now.
No, I know, and that's what I love about it because you can tell the dynamic's absolutely incredible, dude. I mean, I've already, every single time you and I do something, it's always smile inducing. I mean, we just didn't. That SVJ thing was like something I'll forever cherish, and then when Matt and I recorded, it was just smile inducing. Me, you, Derek. Shout out to Derek, of course. I hope he's listening. And then that's the other thing. Like, I'm watching Cargroms' videos earlier today, which Devin's is a huge part of, and that whole crew. And I'm sure we're gonna go ahead and shout them all out tonight. But like, I'm watching the GTA 6 in real life video, which is the last one that you guys put up. By the way, let's go ahead and do a couple of other social media plugs because I plugged myself like a selfish man. Let's let's plug everybody else. Excuse me. You can go ahead and find Matt at bruh_86 on Instagram. If you're into like fun, like retro vintage film stuff, he loves doing that, especially for special occasions. He just dropped Heat today, an LFA, an MC12 Corsa in an In-N-Out parking lot, which is just straight fire. And then
Thank you.
No, of course. It's the thank you for dropping the heat. Almost broke my phone. And then it almost broke my phone. And then Cody actually fully broke it when he went ahead and dropped his 918 set earlier today. And of course, you can find Cody at CJN Photography. Whether you want digital stuff, and then when he drops modern stuff on film, it's literally, it makes me throw my phone because it's burning my hand usually. And then you can go ahead and find Devin at Faster LLC, which I love that name because it's like he just made an LLC out of Faster, and I kind of love that. And then is it at Cargroms? Is that right?
Yeah, it's just literally just Cargroms.
Cargroms, perfect. So you can go ahead and find that on Instagram as well as on YouTube. But there it is. That's a beautiful sticker right there. Just a tick over 70,000 subscribers right now. Congratulations to you guys, by the way. You guys are killing it. But I was watching the GTA in real life video earlier today, dude. And I was just like, smiles the entire way through. It's like 7 minutes of me just like looking like a complete idiot. Thankfully, nobody else is recording my reaction on the other side. But like, so let's kind of start there, Devin. Like, you and the whole crew, Cargroms, like, how did that actually come about? And how long has it been going on?
So Cargroms, like basically, there's a couple dudes in OC that I usually hang out with. About 2 years ago, actually longer than 2 years ago. So that friend group has been a while, like since my freshman year in high school. So that's been about 6-ish, 7 years. I mean, we used to go surf, and then always used to be around cars. But back then, like the GTR was the only car he had. Ethan had an SV, so
Okay.
not bad at all.
Not at all.
Aiden was still messing around with the shitty BMWs. that just never ran. He had an E30 that worked once, and when it worked, he ran into a wall.
It's terrible.
So we kind of met, and we always like surfing, which is what the Grom term comes from in Cargroms. And then like my dad used to always just say like, "Oh, dude, where are the Cargroms at?" Because like I'd have my surfing buddies, and then there'd be the car friends who also surfs. Then it was the Cargroms. And then we were like, everyone kind of started asking us, like, dude, you do these crazy stuff around cars. Like, why don't you like film it and all that stuff? I was like, yeah, I guess like that makes sense. And like a big part of like Ethan wanted to do it mostly. And we're like, yeah. So like we just kind of picked that up and started and kind of filmed what we do with cars and put that on the internet, I guess the best way to put it.
Nice. And how long has Cargroms now been on going live now for?
About a year and 3 months, I think.
But let me ask you, because like everybody on this call can attest to this. Like we've all kind of been growing up watching car YouTube for like now 10, 15 years. Did you find it hard? Did you and your homies all find it like relatively difficult to try and get into that space where, I mean, the word oversaturated can get thrown around, but at times like we can look at car YouTube and be like, man, there's a lot of them out there, yet somehow, some way you guys are really making your mark, like bringing something fantastic to the table. Like what was the thought process behind all that? Was that something that crossed your mind at any point?
I mean, we just kind of like a lot of people in the community were asking, like, dude, you guys do this crazy stuff. You're always in crazy cars. Like, why don't you film it? Because like I'd love to watch that. And I was like, yeah. So we put out our first video like a year and 3 months ago. We took out I was in the pista Spyder. Ethan took out the 812 in Largo, and it was just dumping rain.
Yeah.
And we put those both out in the rain, and it was first off super fun, but then we also just threw a camera around and just kind of went with the thing. And then ever since we just kind of do stuff, and then whenever we do the stuff we do anyways, we just film it, like there's always a camera. And so I don't know, it's just like just kind of popped up really.
It's a great dynamic. And even me watching it, I was still like saying to myself, I'm like, not everybody else can pull this off in a time where anybody can go ahead and have access to a camera. It's still it's still something that takes talent, and it takes passion. And I think that you guys are really, really the poster childs for that. And it's like really, really cool. Cody, I've always told you, bro, like since the very beginning, since I met you, and by the way, you know what? Let me just bring this up right now because we're talking. The last time Cody was on back in June, we not a bet. It was a motivational thing for one another. Tormenting Tormac to get to 1,000 followers by the end of the year. Although Cody said that he wanted me to get to 2, that's likely not going to happen. And I said, "Oh, Cody, I think you can get 100K by the end of the year." Well, I mean, it is October, but Cody's been at 100Ks for like a month now. So congratulations, my friend. Massive congratulations. But I'm just going to ask you this. What is it that you feel that you have about yourself, that you have this gravitational pull that, people want to hang out with you? And I don't mean that as a bad thing in a sense of like, oh, why do people want to hang out with you? I mean that as a good thing, because I feel like, and I've told you this, I constantly tell you this because you and I are good friends. There's something about you that I feel like you allow things to gravitate towards you in a way that you don't even understand it sometimes. You've got people like Devin who like me. I mean, he said it on this pod already. He's like, oh, I saw Cody, I met him, and he already got that chill vibe from you. He knew that, oh yeah, no, Nogowski, he's a cool dude. What do you think it is about you and your place in car culture that allows you to go ahead and bring people towards you like that?
Well, I think a lot of it is just the authenticity. Like I don't bullshit anybody. You can have multi-millions of dollars, you could have $10 in your bank account. I'm gonna treat you the same way either way. Honestly, I don't really care. Like
right.
We just happen to do crazy stuff all the time. It's like I'm not wealthy by any means, but I take cool pictures and like I like to hang out and I know a lot about cars. Like there's a story that I don't know if we're allowed to tell yet or not, but saved a friend some money this weekend just because I
$30.
Hey, listen. This podcast doesn't come out for like another 3.5 weeks. So if there's like a deadline that you guys can't hit, it'll probably be past this. If you want to tell me a story, you're welcome to do so.
We'll just say it's a good thing I know my way around a vehicle.
All right, you want to hear the story?
let's hear the story.
I don't know. Are you sure, Devin?
So we were messing around with a certain car this weekend, known as a 918 Spyder. And we were just driving it. Took it on the track earlier, and one of the tires DB'd off the wheel.
Oh man.
And if you know anything about 918s, those are very expensive mag wheels, and 918s obviously not a cheap car. So this tie, but somehow we walk over there, and the wheel is sitting above the ground. The fender wall is not even touched. It DB'd just onto the inside and was holding the wheel up. It was a very weird situation. And then we were at the place and we were talking to these people, and they're like, well, we have to put it on a tow bed because like you can't lift it because 918s don't, like, they're special. Like you can't lift it with the normal jack. And then Cody's over here. He's like, well, I've lifted like so many 918s and that's just bullshit. Cody is sitting over here doing his little mechanic work and just a Porsche tech, rips that wheel right off, and there's zero damage, which first off saves so much money because those things
For
are
sure.
Yeah. And then got it off, went and throw the other wheel on, and called it a day. And Cody just decided, he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. So
that's ballsy, dude. Because
can't stand, like if they would have got a tow truck, Jorge, they would have damaged the wheel. They would have damaged the wheel.
1,000%. Yeah.
Good thing.
No, it's. I mean,
I was like, Matt, get under the car, record where the jack points are, because it's like you have to be blind to not see them. Like I'm not even.
Yeah, it's like the most
fully blind.
It's like the most obvious jack point. Like, yeah, you need a special like tool to get it up, and like this and that, and like we've literally jacked one up at the shop before. It's like it's fine. So we did it, and they were like, "Oh, well, I didn't know you could do it that way." It's like it's easy. Cody fucking had that wheel off in minutes.
You know what the problem is with like some of these, and I don't mean any disrespect to any tow truck drivers or anything that's anything like that, because I'm sure that these guys, they're just making a living. The problem is though, they are dealing with such a variety of a spectrum of a price point of cars that some of them aren't necessarily fully aware of what you can do with $1 million plus, because that's what a 918 is now going for, right? Are we in the millions?
We're touching 2 million.
Are we touching 2 million on 918s now?
Yeah.
Literally, we just hit 1 million for a 918 the other day. And then, I mean, what was the one that autos? I know it was a CGT, but in the CGT like hit 1.8, almost 2 the other day, like 9 months ago.
We're not going to talk about CGT numbers because we're not going to. Yes, 918s are way better.
Which is funny. Okay. But I have to call this out because it's not like Cody hasn't featured CGTs on CGA Photography's Instagram account. Here's
a quick shout out. The only cool CGTs ever made come from Bo Nottohaus.
The Felkow CGTs, baby.
Are those the ones with the really cool wheels that were featured in that set? Okay.
Stock CGTs should drive into a lake. And if they don't drive into a lake, drive them to Bo Nottohaus, ask for Josh, and they'll figure it out.
5 wheels, lower inserts, everything, brother. Way
Straight
better.
pipe.
All right, fair enough. And for those who may not remember, for those who've been listening for a while, the first ever episode that Cody was on, is the Carrera GT overrated, featuring CJN Photography, and that was quite the title. That was not even clickbaity because he went off on a CGT various times in that podcast. But to this day, it lives rent free in my head. Whatnot. By the way, I love that CLK GTR set. So that was from like about a month ago, right, Cody? You were out in New York.
Yeah, I was in Connecticut with
Connecticut. Yeah,
Rom himself.
Nice.
Car is actually the owner of the green and tan car that I was mentioning earlier.
Oh yeah. So that. We were talking F40s for a second. Actually, right before we started recording, we we brought up the fact that LFAs are now about to have now hit close to 1 million, if not 1 million, like for regular LFAs.
Let's go, so,
baby. But a couple of people on this podcast were like, "Nah, that's wild that LFAs have now hit that price point." So. Obviously Cody drives around in a red, or excuse me, very, very dark orange LFA. Shout out to Tyler, but not to disrespect anyone, but like Devin, you clearly have some thoughts about an LFA. What is it about it that you're like, that's too much for that particular car?
I mean, like, it sounds beautiful, right? Um, the only issue I find with that car is like, and I think MSRP, those cars were phenomenal. I think they should have been much more appreciated back then. You could buy something versus like a Senna, which gives you like 2 to 3, or even an SVJ, which gives you so much more driving experience. That's wild to me. Um, that's just my personal. I think it's a really fun car. Like it's cool, but like the 2014 R35 GTR you could have bought for 80 grand beats it in like every way except for sound. And like,
Right.
that's my take. I don't think a CGT
Yeah.
should be worth 1.5 either, but that's just personal.
Devin.
Yeah.
Okay, Jorge. We're gonna stop this conversation right now because if we go into that theory and that logic, I'm gonna end his shit. Because he has a $5 million Mercedes that could get walked by the $150,000 Viper in our garage.
Off the right straight line, absolutely not. Around the track, maybe.
It's stupid. Next question, Jorge.
All right. Well, okay. I'll tell you what.
Though.
Let's without disrespecting the LFA, let's just have this conversation now, but in a different way. Cody, without it being the LFA, I'm going to ask Matt this question, and I'm going to go around the board because we were all having some different answers earlier before we hit the record button. Matt, you get a milli. What's one car you're going to go ahead and bring into the garage between 1 and is 1 to 2? Is that too big a discrepancy? Should we do like mil to mil and a half?
I mean, I think mil to mil and a half is fine. That's like a good range for cars.
All right. So mil to mil and a half. What are you going with, Matt?
I'm 100% going straight to an SVJ Roadster, and that is even under a mil, and that's fine with me. That is what I would spend that money on. I don't think there's another car for a couple more $1 million that I'd want over that car. I think the SVJ Roadster is top dog for me when it comes to supercars, and that'd be my go-to.
All right, that's fair. Devin, what are you going for? Mil to mil and a half.
I mean, you can find for 1.5 million, but like I feel like a 918 is not at that exact price point.
No, it's hard. You have to really look.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to find a non-YSAC high mileage car, but you can get one for 1.5. But like after experiencing that car, it's so fun. But at that price point, I mean, I was talking McLaren Sennas earlier, but then I was also talking SVJ Roadsters because, like Matt said, the driving experience, like that car to drive, doesn't feel good to drive, but the driving experience of that car is unmatched to anything I've ever touched.
Wild. I need to experience a Senna. I mean, I've had my thoughts on Sennas for a long time, but I mean, the problem with a Senna is, and don't kill me for saying this, Cody. I mean, I've driven a 720, but like it's almost a little bit too close between those two. And I mean, what's a 720 going for these days? 180?
Yeah, because they're pieces of shit.
I never said they weren't.
Horrible.
I'll
say it out loud.
I got you. All right, Cody, mil to mil and a half, not being an LFA. Where are you at? What's your head at?
Wouldn't be an LFA regardless.
God, that's a hard question because I don't really know a lot of cars that are like under $1.5 million other than like the SVJ or an SV.
Mm-hmm.
Mercy SV's up there.
Yeah, but that's not a cool car. I'm definitely don't quote that. Don't quote that, guys. Definitely probably an SVJ Roadster, 100%.
Okay. I got you. I mean, SVJ Roadsters, I mean, SVJs, Cody, you and I have very much firsthand experience. Like it's an intoxicating feeling. Something that like to this day, like it resonates with me in my heart, and whatnot. Just everything about it. Like it was my first time riding in a car of that nature, but it was cool. It's just such a cool car. And Lamborghini does crazy better than anyone else, or at least I think they do. But we also have someone that has rolled around in a Wyra. So
you
actually,
Koenigsegg yet?
Yeah, because I haven't done a Koenigsegg yet, and I mean we can make that happen some point in time.
I have, haha.
I haven't.
Haha.
I think we need to change that though. But there's a Wyra in your collection, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Devin?
There is a little blue carbon thing running around Orange County sometimes.
I know, right? How long has that been in your collection? If you don't mind me asking.
So we had we had a Huayra Roadster,
Okay.
non BC, and we had that for about a year. And then just recently we picked up the BC, and the Roadster left the collection around, what was that, Car Week? So just before Car Week,
Okay. So
roughly.
sometime in August.
So no, just like just before August. I'm trying to think if it was June or July.
It was definitely June, very end of June.
Yeah, I think it was end June.
Um. Okay.
That thing
There's
is
so you guys
nuts.
have two of them. Is that right?
No, so one of them left.
Okay.
The Fire Roadster, now with a guy named Brian Mann in Charlotte, left because it made no sense to have two of them. So that left, and then we picked up the MVBC, as it is now known.
Gotcha. It's such a spectacular color. We're looking at it right now on the Zoom feed. I know people aren't going to be watching this as a video, and that's fine. But it's if you want to go ahead and take a look at it, you can go ahead and find it both on Cody's Instagram page because he's featured it several times, and then you can go ahead and go to Devin's. More importantly, at Faster LLC. Was that the one that's in the Chevron pick with the Senna?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Like, let me tell you something. I am enamored with that set because I think it's fantastic. I featured it. I loved it so much that I texted Cody and I was like, Cody, can I feature this on TT real quick? He's like, of course. And it was so dope. You know, Wyras to me are so different to a Zonda, Devin. Like it's a complete step up. It was something entirely radically different. Like they went ahead and they went from having the 7-liter to then 7.3-liter V12 to now going with the 6-liter V12 with the twins, the Merc twin turbo that you can find in an SO65, which is funny because it's that motor, but it's so much different. But
Yeah.
what about the Wyra do you feel has been able to, because I feel like it's supplanted itself as one of those like hypercars that are a must experience type vehicle. What do you think about it? It was that it was able to separate itself from what was the originality of the Zonda.
So Zondas in my heart are like my personal favorite car of all time. Is and I've been very blessed to meet the owner and talk to him multiple times about this vehicle. So there's a Rosso Dubai Zonda Cinque, which is my goat car. But I've just always liked Pagani in general because like once you start getting into these upper tier cars,
Yeah.
start feeling like these certain brands there's so much saturation in hypercars right now, right? You have so many different brands building hypercars and all that stuff. So what makes this different, right? It's not the fastest. It's not even close, right? That's not what the car's for. Like Konya said,
I mean, it is fast, but it's not the fastest. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
definitely not slow.
Yeah.
It's that, but I'm saying if for hypercar wise, like we're talking Koenigsegg up there, like it's just not right. And then
Evan, if you say it wrong one more time, I'm leaving the chat. Koenigsegg.
He gives me,
You literally
bro.
have one coming. You have one coming. Koenigsegg. Koenigsegg.
Koenigsegg. All right. Anyway, so it's not Koenigsegg. That is this car. Like I can sit in this car for hours and notice something different about it every time.
Right.
It is so detailed down to that every single bolt on the car is made out of titanium, and it costs them $100 to manufacture.
Right.
And the attention to detail on this car is not like any other brand in the world. And not only that, as being like a customer of that brand, they treat their clients better than any other brand ever. Like Ferrari has become one of like, I used to be a huge Ferrari fan, as one of my least favorite brands because they are very moving away from the whole family aspect. It's kind of sad because I like some of their cars.
Yeah, for sure.
But you get in these very bespoke detail cars, right? So Koenigsegg makes very few cars and Pagani makes very few cars. We have a Koenigsegg coming, right?
Right.
And it's just not the same. Like first time Pagani came in, got letters, right? They wish you happy birthday. They wish other people that are just connected to you happy birthday. They handwritten letters too. This isn't no like, some hand signed. They send with leather envelopes. They contact you about everything. You have a birthday, graduation. You just got married, anything, right? They reach out and they know, and they are the most relationship based brand I have ever heard and experienced in my life. So it's not even just the car, because the car is beautiful.
Right.
There's no denying that. The driving experience is nuts. It's
Mhm.
a 2,800-pound car with this. Well, MBBC has an 850 horsepower engine. So it's pretty light and it's pretty fast, right? It's very scary to drive, actually.
Mhm.
So I've driven. But just the fact that Pagani as a brand itself has elevated itself above all the other ones in terms of that sense is what makes me really attracted towards that car.
No, for sure. I mean, it's funny because it used to be that when you looked at a Zonda and then now a Wyra, you thought to yourself, oh, it just looks good. It doesn't drive that well. But I mean, I've seen videos of people driving Zondas at pace. I mean, the iconic Top Gear video of Jeremy Clarkson taking the Zonda R, rocking the headphones, right? Because you can't hear him, and that's the only way he can communicate through the camera. And like he's talking about, like, all you do is pull the lever and all the savagery and wildry starts all over again. And you know, the Zonda R in particular to me is such a special, crazy thing because it's got it doesn't have the 7 liter or the 7.3 liter V12. It's got the 6 liter naturally aspirated race motor from Mercedes, which is, yeah, it's one of the craziest engines ever created. But then they kicked it up so many different levels with the Wyra. And then like when you get boost in a Wyra, I mean, I've never experienced it, right? And I'd love to at some point, but like I feel that when you hit boost in a Wyra, it's like because it's already got torque, but then it gets that extra bit of torque, and it's just like a complete, utter, I don't know, just foolishness. It's foolishness all the way up to like $6.5 grand, and it starts all over again. And it's just, and it hits you harder and harder every single time. And people look at the way that car looks and say it's just looks, but it's got nothing else after that. And it's like, no, Horatio made sure for the last 15, no, actually, excuse me, now 20 years, right? Because how long has it been since Pagani has been? 25? Oh, that's right. It was late 90s. I apologize. So Horatio has always made sure that it's not just aesthetic. It's got everything else to back it up. And yeah, we can say that about a lot of manufacturers, but you can't say it when it comes to someone as bespoke, like a boutique that is Pagani. You can say it about Koenigsegg, but respectfully, I don't think a Koenigsegg looks as good as a Pagani. It's a very different, and I mean that respectfully, of course. You know, is that Ruthie behind you there?
That
Cody?
is Ruth.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ruthie's ridiculous, and I've seen Ruthie all over the place. You've been plastering it all over everybody else's. I mean, that is a crazy car, and it's good looking. But we have to all be in agreement that it does not look as good as that, right? I mean, we're not all that crazy, are we? Or maybe we are. I don't know, Cody. You telling me? Are you that crazy? No further comments.
That's why this guy likes LFAs.
If he had a good spec, maybe Rosso Dubai, that'd be sick. But everything's blue carbon.
Oh, boo-hoo.
I don't know, bro. I love the blue. So actually, I liked how you talked about Pagani, the way that they customize their client. And I wouldn't say customer. I think it's more of a client relationship per se, right?
Absolutely.
You know, Cody and I talked about this back in June when we were discussed that he went to the Pagani Renuno. And I know that you were there as well, Devin. If I'm not mistaken, it was your dad that went ahead and let Cody borrow the race suit. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Shout out Damon. Massive shout out Damon.
Yeah.
Shout out Damon.
I mean, we talked about it then. We'll talk about it now. I love that video. Matt's literally filming Cody, puts the phone up to his face. Is like, yo, bro, are you ready? He's like, no. Absolutely. But like, I bring that up, Devin, because, and to the three of you really, because how many times do you go ahead and see Ferrari want to go ahead and like really do something like that for like a specific client base? Because I remember Cody and I talked about this. That wasn't all the Paganis in the world, but it was a lot of the ones that were US based, which there's several of them. But to be able to go ahead and unite all those clients like that and put on such a special event and still individualize it for every customer or every client here in the United States, like we don't see that very often. Would you agree?
Not at all. Like Bugatti's just kind of slowly getting there. Like they
Mhm.
just did their grand tour a few weeks ago, which was pretty cool. But it's like, so the first one I went on when we first got the Roadster was in Nashville. We show up, and the first person you meet is Horatio.
Oh, that's so cool.
And the whole family, it's not just Horatio, the whole family goes. And they are just the nicest people. Like I sat with Chris, Horatio's son, and spoke with him for hours. And these aren't people who just like, oh, Pagani is the greatest. These are people who are enthusiasts. Like Horatio and Chris are huge Porsche Ferrari fans. He's got a GTZ Carrera GT that is slammed, and he's got a 918, and they have an F12 TDF, and they like love these cars. And I'm just talking with him about cars, not Pagani, just like, so
Just
why not?
cars in general.
What are you doing? He's just like super passionate about it and just loves it. And then the passion they put from that into their own cars is unbelievable. And the relationship they have with their clientele base is unreal. And also just all the clients who pick up those cars are very, very wonderful people. Like I'm buddies with like a lot of them, and they are just so fun to be around. And once the Reduno comes together, it's like just a bunch of I like, it's weird to say there's a bunch of buddies meeting with cars, and just it's like even Horatio and Chris, like they know, like the first time I met him in Nashville, and then a year later, he memorized everything about me, my name, what I do, like everything. And this is a guy who makes, I think they have like almost 500 cars, like over 200, 300 clients, and he knows everything. Like my
Amazing.
family, like what I do. He's like, oh, so how's school in San Diego? Like how's this car you guys have doing? Like all this stuff. And it's like wild because like Ferrari doesn't do that. And I know
Yeah,
they
I
have
was
a
gonna say, would respectfully, like, would Winkleman do that? Like,
no.
no, hell no. You know, and I love Lamborghini, right? I think I think the four of us collectively we appreciate and love Lamborghini to a certain extent, but like I'll be the first person to tell you I don't think Stefan Winkelmann will be able to go ahead and remember every Lamborghini current customer right now. And of course, Lamborghini's got a little bit of a longer history, but it's not that much longer. It maybe like has 30 years, right? But like the crazy thing is that unlike Horatio, Stefan Winkelmann has been the guy that's only been in charge for the last few years. Horatio founded the company and he's still at the helm. The only guy that I can imagine that could have that sort of relationship with his clients, the only person that could come close is Christian Van Koenigsegg. Like that's the only guy.
He really isn't.
Yeah.
It
And
like we have a car on order from them, and it's crazy to see the difference.
right.
Don't get me wrong, Koenigsegg's awesome. They make probably the most in like in terms of mechanical, I don't know how to put it, just exploration,
Mm-hmm.
they're top, right? But it was crazy seeing the difference from being this car versus that car and the experience you get with both companies.
I gotcha. Hey Matt, I want to ask you a question, bro, because obviously you were a young dude who is, upcoming in this just all of car culture, but you present yourself as someone who is vastly knowledgeable. And I mean that. I think that you bring so much to the table at such a young age. When you're hanging out with, people such as Devin and his crew, and you're hanging out with Cody, who has been in the game for a while. Like, what is the influence that these guys you feel bring onto you, other than the fact that yeah they have access to cool cars, but what do you think it is about them? And this isn't a sucking up to them type session here. I'm curious to know, what do you think about these two individuals? What is the influence that they've been able to go ahead and bring to you in a positive standpoint? And what do you think of it is about them that makes them the people who they are today?
I think the main thing for me is just to like share for the love of cars. Like we all love cars the same way and we're all equally just as passionate about it. So it's like it's really hard for us to, not get along when we are like we're all equally as passionate about the same thing, like to the same level. We're all just as crazy. It's all we eat, sleep, breathe cars, and it's like our favorite thing ever. And that kind of helps us, bond and become friends and have the relationship that we do because, we're very driven people for cars. It's all we care about.
I feel that. Devin, you being a little bit older than Matt, you see a younger dude coming up like him in the game, and like he's so.
Me and Matt are the same age. Actually,
are you guys really?
How old are you?
It's
I'm
the
22,
beard.
Actually, I'm older.
Devin's
I'm
younger.
older, believe it or not.
It's the
younger
beard,
than
Devin. My bad, bro. My bad.
Devin just looks like an adult. Matt just looks like he's 6.
Yeah.
It's
No.
flip flop.
I got you. I know Cody's older than you guys by a couple years and whatnot, but stop. Yo, if anybody's a grandpa, it's yours truly right over here. Just celebrated my 34th the other day, which is wild to me. But let me ask you, Devin, because like you were mentioning earlier, you met Matt and you were like, who is this kid and what is he and whatnot? But now that you've been able to go ahead and get to know him and you see what he can bring to the table, what is it to you about Matt of his car knowledge and his car passion that you go ahead and see him and you're like, yeah, man, this dude brings a good positive thing to the table? I'm gonna put you guys all on the spot.
It's a very short list, I'd have to say. I'm kidding.
Damn.
What a roast session. I love it.
Like with these cars, you get a lot of like obviously car spotting has become a large thing, right?
Yeah.
And naturally just driving these things around, like people come up to you and like approach you all the time, and it's like usually always like it's very it's very friendly. Like I love sharing the cars, like my favorite thing to do with them. But it's different when people are like just for cars or like just actually like saying like, oh my gosh, like let's hang out, but like the cars are just a benefit, right? Like we don't have to go on cars, but obviously we all like cars, so that's what we're gonna do, like. And Matt as well as me is like Pagani is our favorite brand, and Cody's not there yet, but he will be because
So close.
I don't like it's because now we just get to do the experiences around these cars that like we both fantasized over. Like I grew up, like I got into cars from I played Forza Horizon, like the very first one, Colorado Springs, right? That was my thing. That's how I got into cars, right? And then
yeah,
it was always for me. I know it's gonna like just such a just that car. It was R35 GTR. I was like, wow, dude, R35 GTR. And I know, like, GTR Super, like, whatever. I was, how old was I? 10? Something. Yeah, I was 10. Like, I don't know. I love that car.
Right.
And then, like, 2 years later, like, my dad walks up. He goes, Devin, let's go down the street to the dealership and we're going to go look for a GTR. I'm like, no way. That's crazy. He picked up a 2014 Nissan GTR. And I was ecstatic. And like my dad being the dude he is, was just like, all right, here are the keys. I don't have my license. Don't have anything. He's like, yeah, just go. I trust you. Don't get pulled over. Like, I'm just like,
don't
all
get
right.
pulled over.
I was amazed. And like, and still till that day, we still have that car. And it's like still my favorite car. Like, even though the collection's obviously amassed to like,
yeah,
stuff worth way more than that, and like all this, like that car for me was still my like halo car. Like that was the one for me that was like, wow, R35 GTR for like what it was and all this, and like that was my dream car as a kid. Like now I just get to daily that car and like just drive it around everywhere, and just it's wild. But like
right.
even though like all the other cars have came, like that's still like that's the one for me, and that's just how it is. Obviously stuff changes. Like I obviously like other cars as well now. Like now my new dream car is a Zonda Cinque Roadster, which is never obtainable because the guy will never sell it. Because
how many Cinques are out there? Like less than 10, right? 5?
There's 5 coupes, 5 roadsters.
Yeah. God, yeah.
But the owner I've talked to personally and said if this car is ever for sale, I'll be dead. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So that one's off the table.
No, for sure. I mean, they are truly special cars, for those who's knowledge of a Pagani isn't that great. And by the way, mine's not at all that great, but I do remember the Cinque is special because even though it's got an entirely different engine than the Zonda R, it's by and large basically a road legal Zonda R, if I'm not mistaken. That was the closest thing that got to it, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah, so there was 10 customers who basically said, so we have these Zonda R's and they're not street drivable. Let's make them street drivable. And then that became the Cinque project out of Hong Kong, right? And there was 5 coupes, 5 roadsters, most of them in white, and then there's a couple Skittle ones sprinkled around. There's a red, green, yellow, and orange. And everything, all the other ones are the same spec with some hints of different changes, but all white, red stripe Cinques.
Yeah. I mean, they're truly special cars. They really are. Cody, I'll ask you this because, you know, and we talked about it earlier, and I know you said it's about the authenticity, right? It's about the fact that I remember talking to you about this, like, hey, let's go, you know, I don't care if you are worth 500 mil or if you're worth $2. If you want to go ahead and have Raising Canes with me, let's go have Raising Canes. And that's, you know, that's what I love about you is the fact that you are no holds barred. You have you give 0 Fs, but that's what makes you, to me, the amazing person that you are. And then you go ahead and see these two individuals who are a little younger than you are and whatnot. You see them upcoming through this game and whatnot from a different perspective, obviously, but you're still seeing it. Like, you look at Matt, you look at Devin, you know, what do you see that these two in particular bring to car culture? I know I'm putting you on the spot, man, but hey, we did it to you guys. Might as well go ahead and put Cody on there too.
I mean, my biggest thing I knew me and Devin would really click because one of the times we were hanging out, one night we went to In-N-Out, like, it was almost closed. It was like 1:30 a.m. and there was 3 kids that got out of a car. They're like, holy shit, it's a 918. And he goes, well, I can't give all 3 of you a ride. So play rock, paper, scissors, and whoever wins gets a ride. Like, I was like, that's some shit I would do with the LFA or with the SVJ or something. So it just, you know, it just makes sense. We both have a similar mindset. We really want to bring more kids up in the car community instead of, you know, the douchey owner that doesn't want kids sitting in it, doesn't want any of that stuff. Like, even Tyler has the same mentality. It's like, bro, it's just a seat. Like, give kids rides, let kids fall in love with these cars. Like, for me, cars kept me in line. Like, I didn't get any trouble my whole life. I didn't do anything stupid. And that's all because I just wanted to be around cars. And I know it's the same for Devin, and I know it's the same for Matt, because it's just how it is for all of us. And then Matt's just like, I mean, he's been my go-to for years. Like, he's like a little brother. So he's just always there. Like, it's not really an option. If he's not there, if he's not welcome, I won't be there, type of thing. So
you guys have a really great. I'm sorry, Matt. I can't right now.
Matt, put your teeth in.
That's how I met that kid. Is this kid's like, oh yeah, can I go in the Pagani? I'm like, sure, I don't care. And this kid's riding around with his teeth out. And I'm like, what?
Very first time I met him, I took my teeth out in his Wyra.
Ever since, I've hated it. Absolutely hated it. Because I'm like, I just met this kid and I didn't know his teeth came out. Like, he's got no teeth. I'm like, Jesus.
Dude.
Devin, I know that we're getting close to that. Oh no, actually, we still got quite a bit of time. So we'll go ahead and keep going here. You know, you guys were all just hanging out or this past weekend. I know you told us about the 918, and you know, Cody went ahead and helped you out and whatnot. You know, what are some of your favorite adventures that you could go ahead and think of that involve these two hooligans right here that you can say, yeah, that's the type of stuff that's why I love it. Everything in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Well, what do we got? What's happened in the last 3 months?
The real one was the Raduno escapade, and that was nuts because obviously Matt's favorite car of all time is a Zonda. As being someone who was driving a Zonda, I was naturally so that was very fun. And I don't think you mentioned is we got both of them in this collection. I think you called it a Huayra R, but it's a Zonda R.
I'm a piece of lard, Devin, to be quite honest with you. I actually don't know cars that well. I'm just kidding. No, I did not. No, you're right. I didn't realize that the Zonda R was right there. I only acknowledged the Huayra, and now I feel like an idiot. But like, dear Lord, and Oh man, this is insane. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Tormenting tarmac
So,
continue to put me in places that I just should not be in. But
so
that's
this was
insane.
the car that, do you know that video of Cody and them?
Yeah, of course.
That was this bad boy, right?
Yeah.
So that car, out of everything I've driven some, I've been very blessed to drive some pretty nuts stuff. There's nothing that'll beat the driving experience of that car. And these two can attest because we've been in it multiple times now, and I've got to drive it a lot now since we took it out a couple weeks ago. I'm taking it out in a couple weeks again. That car will just be one of my votes. That car is nuts. It is fast and the sound is just unbelievable. And
That car is actually terrifying. Like that car is actually ridiculous.
the car just sounds like it's pissed off and angry, and the downshifts that's yelling, and it's so mechanical, it's so loud. Like if you have your phone inside, the mic cuts off, and phone outside, the mic cuts off, like it's so loud. I think the exhaust reads at like 127 decibels. And it's just like it is the most driving experience of any car I've ever experienced tenfold. And then so the first experience I got with Matt was he was like, Zondas are my Halo car. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, my dad is sitting there, and obviously it's his car because I can't afford that shit. Obviously, I'm 20, like that's impossible. My dad's like, and luckily, like you can ask these two. My dad is just like
He seems like it's just no, like he seems like he's the absolute shit. And I mean,
Damon is
that.
the shit. Damon
And
is
that's like the
top
perfect
dog.
explanation of Damon. Damon is
Yeah.
the GOAT.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like,
I could tell.
so he loves sharing these cars with people, right? And he like entrusts that with me because he's obviously always around to just go drive these cars and share them with people. So like, okay, you go do it and you have fun and you trust me with that. So we're sitting there with the Zonda, and then I'm looking at Matt. Matt's just walking around this car for hours. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, look at Dan. I was like, we got to get this kid in this car. He's like, all right. So we go up to the little Italian dude, like, hey, I need 2 race suits, and Cody couldn't fit in one. So my dad's like, all right, I'll just give him mine. And then we just started ripping.
Right.
And it was unreal. And like that was like my first main experience with all of them together. Then I get Nikayla included.
Shout out to Nikayla. Shout out to Nikayla, of course.
And then like after that, like we did a bunch of other stuff. I mean, me and Cody did the trip to Connecticut, which was super fun. We also did with all of us. What was a couple weeks ago? We had the what?
Ben's birthday.
Oh yeah. We did a buddy's birthday party in Vegas, which was nuts. Just some super, super fun stuff. My favorite experience was probably Raduno or Car Week. I mean, Car Week.
Oh,
Car Week was fun.
Car Week is really the best.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Matt went ahead and told us about his experience at Car Week, but Cody, and I mean, I live, as Cody knows, I live vicariously through everything Cody posts and whatnot, but I still want to hear it from you, and I'd love to hear it from you too, Devin. Like, you guys were just all over the place, and it wasn't like, oh, you were going to all these parties and stuff like that. You were just experiencing. What I loved about it, and Cody has such a great way of, via his Instagram and all his work, is like, I feel like he puts the people that are looking at his work, he puts us, like, you put us right in the middle of it. Right. I remember the time we did the Nights of the Photography Roundtable, Cody, your words were, I don't edit because I'm trying, you really don't like it. But in reality, what you're trying to go ahead and do is also like kind of like put us in that raw moment of like, this is literally what I'm seeing at this moment in time. And the way that you go ahead and do that for us via your storytelling on Instagram, like that's literally what you do. And the way that you did that for Car Week the last 2 years, like, damn, bro, like you got us like right there in the middle of Carmel and Monterey. Like I felt like I was there with you.
Well, some people hate all my stories and stuff, but I don't really care. Whatever. I'm gonna keep.
If somebody does,
I
mean, if they don't, then they're just, I don't know what to say.
But it's cool. It's like to document the things I do it's fun. Like all 3 of us up here don't live normal lives at all.
1000%.
Actually,
I'm not living a normal life either in the past 2 years, bro.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like
you sucked me into stuff. Yeah.
Like, you know how sick it is to give it, like, God forbid I give one 8-year-old, 15-year-old kid the reason to do what I do. And then you have another one like me, and it's just like, you never know whose life you're really going to touch. And it's super sick. Like, and Devin is all about the same thing. It's like, dude, Car Week, our main goal was to give all these car spotters and all these people who love cars the opportunity to see all of our cars. So like, we weren't going to parties. We were driving up and down 17 Mile. We were letting kids into the Cargroms house to take photos. Like, we were just doing a lot of stuff for like, more so for the people who are actually there who enjoy it. Like, you can tell too when you let people in. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Bro, Devin picked me up from the airport of Monterey in a 918. Like, that's crazy.
It's not
Bro,
normal.
I get my Uber from the airport was a 918. Like, that's just nuts.
I waited for an hour and a half for this kid because like my flight gets in at yada yada. I'm like, all right. So I was sitting there. There's a bunch of car spotters around, right? So I just cycled them through, going around the airport in circles. They all loved it. I mean, that like a lot of cars get dropped off at the airport, and all of our stuff did because we just flew in. So it's really cool, actually. All the cars were on the runway. And then I was like, well, I gotta wait back for this kid, and this kid's like an hour late, and I'm like, all right, great. So I'm just sitting there giving car spotters rides, and Matt comes and he's like, well, my bag's gonna take like 5 minutes, and like 45 minutes later, I'm sitting there in the lane of my house, and I'm like looking at Matt, and like, what is going on, dude? And he's like, oh, I got my bag. All right. Like, I can't believe I just waited for this kid. I have an hour and 5 minutes. Everyone's running around Monterey already, just messing around, and I'm just sitting here at the airport waiting for this dude.
I mean, at least you got a 918 to be able to go ahead and catch up to all of them, even though you're going to be in the middle of like heavy traffic. But
They're
still,
a lot faster cars, dude. I mean,
yeah, it's true.
that's the sad thing. I mean, I think we showed up to the airport with it was a TDF, a Sabre, a SF90, a roof turbo arc, the Huayra MVBC, and the 918.
That's a list of cars that is not normal. Like when you say an F12 TDF and then you mentioned every other car that you mentioned, it makes the TDF look extremely normal. And let it be known right now, the TDF is the farthest thing from normality ever. And that's wild. I mean, that's the first time I've ever heard the word a McLaren Sabre in a sentence, not being in a journalistic standpoint. Like, I'm sorry, that's crazy. Oh, I'm not saying it's good or anything of that nature, but it's just one of those crazy things that, you know, we talked about this earlier. Like hypercars where we are today, they were crazy back when we first saw them. And what would you guys actually, let me just ask you this right now? If you guys had to go ahead and pick one car that you feel was like the absolute start of what a hypercar is, would we agree that it's probably, is it the Veyron, or would you agree? Would you say it's something else?
McLaren F1.
The F1? Okay.
So, dude, I honest to God think the Holy Trinity pioneered the term hypercar, and people are now going back in time calling these other cars hypercars, which is fair because for their time they were way better than like the current supercar. But I do think the Holy Trinity pioneered the term hypercar.
So to you, the Holy Trinity, I'm assuming you're talking P1, 918 and laugh. Okay, cool. I only ask, and I know I don't want to be killed in the comments or anything like that. Oh, no. But like one of the original Holy Trinities that I think of is SLR, Enzo, Zonda. That's to me the original Holy Trinity. So sometimes I want to make sure that I'm on the same wavelength. But I feel that. Matt, where are your thoughts? What to you was the original hypercar? Because Devin said F1, Cody says the Holy Trinity. What about you?
So I think, like Cody said, the term hypercar was definitely coined by the 918, the LaFerrari and the P1. But I think like for cars of that caliber, the original was probably the F1 because it was like for its day way ahead of everything else. You know, like the center seat, the V12, it was the fastest car, broke the speed record. So I would say that I wouldn't say that car was a hypercar for its time. That was just considered a supercar, but it was a completely different car than everything else that was out there. So I think that like set the motion for all these other manufacturers to make these top speed, high performance, just like limited production, crazy cars.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I mean, I think all three of your answers are vastly different, and I appreciate them. I think you're all right in a certain aspect. I still think to myself, like, the Veyron did some like super nutty stuff. So I don't know. I guess you could go ahead and put it wherever you want to. Hell, there might be people that even go ahead and say that their original hypercar may have been the F40. I'm not sure I'd agree with that, but like I've heard that. So, some people say that, not everyone, but like you look at where the hypercar is in 2023, and we look at what a McLaren Sabre is, and then a Senna and some other stuff, and like some of these other bespoke boutiques that are now making their own hypercars, whether or not they use like petrol engines or whether or not they use electric. Like you see all these things coming about, and Devin, I'll start with you, and you're looking at it like, do you do you think it's oversaturating the hypercar market, or do you welcome it and say, oh, like it's just something new? Because I mean, a lot of these hypercars, it's starting to go ahead and kind of like really blur the lines of like how much difference is it between them, other than the ones that are a Pagani in particular. Pagani is obviously very striking, right?
Yeah, I think that, like it's definitely oversaturating a bunch of like different companies that don't have much history.
Right.
Like I don't know if there's any Zinger fans in here with a C, not
Eh,
Singer,
Yeah.
but like a
The
Zinger
Zinger.
to
Yeah.
me, like what even is that, And like
Yeah, Cody, you were at the unveiling at McLaren Scottsdale. Where can I say that? Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I've seen the car multiple times, and every single time, I still think it's like a pointless car. Like it's cool what they did, and I like that they 3D printed a ton of their parts, if not all of them. Not 100% sure. I don't know a ton about the car, but
Yeah.
I don't. The car looks good. No one knows how the car really performs. I haven't seen many videos on it. Maybe I'm just ignorant to the car because I don't really care about it. But I just don't really think it's that cool of a car. Like
Right.
I see what they're trying to do, and I definitely give them props for making a car. I haven't made a car, but I'm just saying I don't really think it's that crazy of a car, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. And I didn't mean to interrupt, Devin. I just remember him going to the Zinger event because it happened earlier this summer at McLaren Scottsdale. And I know that McLaren Scottsdale is now the official dealership here in Arizona. If you want to order a Zinger, you can go ahead and order it through McLaren Scottsdale. Not that I'm giving a plug to McLaren Scottsdale, but McLaren Scottsdale, if you want to go ahead and holler at your boy and let me drive some of your stuff, I'm here for you, baby. But back to the hypercar thing. Yeah, it is becoming a little bit oversaturated, isn't it?
yeah, and like especially because like we've been looking into these cars, right? Like looking into buying some of them, and you get like a lot of weird, interesting cars popping up that you're like, what is this? Like a bunch of different stuff. Like another company that like some people would say Hennessy. I don't think so. I think Hennessy's had its history. I think they're able to do that with the Venom and everything. I understand
Agreed.
that. And a car that'll actually be here in 3 days is the Batista, right? The Pininfarina Batista, which
Oh,
is
sick.
like, but that's like another hypercar that just came out. Like you got Rimac Navarra's running around, you got like Koenigsegg's doing their thing, which Koenigsegg's established, but you got like a bunch. And like, no offense to my boy Tim, but like Zenvo, I like they also just popped up out of nowhere, just started
Sure.
making, you have a bunch of these companies that are just pumping out hypercars because there's a market for it, right? But at some point when you got each of these car brands making 150 hypercars, there won't be,
Right.
especially when you have older hypercars that can be like, I don't think anyone's taking a Zenvo over a Huayra or a Singer over a Senna even, like,
Yeah.
so that's just like all these new companies coming out with hypercars it's difficult to say it's not oversaturated, especially when you have brands that are already known for hypercars.
For sure. By the
Um,
way, for
pretty sure
those
someone
for
I know
those who
is
might
getting
oh,
a
go ahead,
Singer
Cody.
over a Senna right now. Do you hear me, Devin?
What?
Pretty sure somebody I know is getting a Singer over a Senna right now.
A Zinger.
Oh, Zinger. Okay, good. I was gonna
A
say
Singer is not even a hypercar. It's just art, but that's different.
Is there someone that we know that is getting a Singer that I should be made aware of?
Yeah,
maybe there is.
maybe this.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, nice, dude. Do you get to
yeah.
name it? Do they get to name it a cool commission name? Because one thing I'll give Singer, and shout out, this is reimagined by Singer, obviously, is what we're
Yeah,
discussing here.
Singer.
Yeah, not Zinger. One thing always appreciated about them is I do love the way that they name their commissions. That is one of my favorite things about them. What do you have it? Can you name what the commission will be? Do you have one?
Not yet. I mean, we have a DLS turbo on order.
Shoot.
That'll be here in 2 years roughly, and we have no.
Okay.
I do have what we're doing with the paint, but I can't unveil that because it'll be really special. So maybe we'll make something off of that.
All right, for sure. No, for sure. No, respect, man. Congratulations to you and the whole crew there and the family. That a singer, man. That's no joke, bro. And I mean, 2 years, when you really think about it in singer terms, it's actually not that long. It's considering like other people have a longer wait list to get their singers and
like Koenigsegg.
Okay.
Yeah, what?
All right. Chill out.
Let's put it this way. We've had a Jamera on order since 2019, and our allocations got pushed back to 2027.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
That's wild.
8 years for a car.
Yeah. Matt, let me get your quick thoughts on the hypercar thing here really quickly, because I think it's a fascinating topic, and I agree with Devin that it's really it's wild. I'll give at least the pin. I'll at least give Pininfarina credit, because at least anybody who's a car enthusiast has known what Pininfarina brings to the table, considering that they were designing and Ferraris for 30 plus 40 plus years, actually more than 40 plus years.
The car is beautiful.
60 plus years, I should say. So there's at least a history there from a design standpoint, and now they're adding electric. And I mean, I talked with Kent, shout out to Kent of Kentington, a few months back. He drove in a Bautista, and he told me it was one of the wilder experiences he's ever had, and whatnot. So I mean, that's understandable. But with what we're discussing here, Matt, do you like this? So many people trying to go for the hybrid car. Do you find it a little annoying? Where are you at?
I think it's really easy to make a hypercar. I think it's very difficult to like keep that name and that notion going. Like companies like they've all said, like Pagani, Bugatti, and Koenigsegg. Those are the like top dogs. Those are the guys who've been doing it for a long time. They have history. They have been making cars for a very long time. They're here to stay. I think that a lot of these other companies who are like pushing cars out won't last as long, and they probably will kind of fall off and die off because, like I said, it's hard when you have like the choice between a Zinger with a Z or a like Koenigsegg or a Pagani. These companies that have been around for so long and they've done their testing, they've beaten these cars and they put them through the ringer, whereas opposed to this new company where you have no idea like what the car has to offer. It's kind of it's a very interesting thing to me. But I think it's easy to like say you're making a hypercar, but it's probably not going to be as easy to like keep making hypercars and staying in that status.
Yeah. Cody, I know that you and I have talked in the past, like, you like to go ahead and dabble in like, seeing what can hold value, what cannot hold value. And as more of these boutiques continue to go ahead and produce these cars, like, how do you feel like if people, let's say like people were go ahead and buy them secondhand or something like that? And I know that we're talking about a level of car that's out of most people's brackets here, but it's always fun to kind of discuss it, especially because we have someone that's within the bracket. So I can respect that. But like, I know that it might be hard, but you who studies that market, like, how do you view that? And like, can they hold it? Like, because the problem with these cars is they make so little of them, right?
The good cars will always skyrocket, is what I believe. So like Koenigsegg is not necessarily reliable. They're not a very reliable brand, but they're making every single piece to that car in-house. That's the difference between like when you have the heart of a Mercedes in your car, like Pagani, it's easier to have a reliable vehicle. Or like when you have your sensors are made from Maserati, it's a lot easier. But when you're building everything in-house, I think that's what will drive the appeal for a brand like Koenigsegg and will keep them valuable because they're doing it all in-house. Right. And they're pushing boundaries as to where like some of these brands are just trying to build these crazy track weapons with these crazy fast cars, and they can do it, but we don't know how long, we don't know how well, they don't really necessarily look as good. Like if you see the outline of an Agera or any Koenigsegg, you know exactly it's a Koenigsegg. You know what I'm saying? Like There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You see a Pagani,
Same with the Pagani.
or a Wyra, 100%, bro. If I saw a Zinger, I would think that's a kit car on the road. I'd be like, what the hell is that? Like, cool, because I've never seen it before, but I wouldn't go chase it. If I saw the silhouette of a Agera RS, I'm going over curbs, doing whatever it takes to go find the car. So I think these other brands that are trying to just make new cars probably won't really make it in the long run. It's unfortunate to say because it's cool seeing a lot of people trying to do it, but you can't just jump into the game like, hey, we've got a $4 million car. How about you buy it?
Right. And that's the problem that I sometimes go ahead and get a little bit frustrated about is the fact that, like, you know, these people without history, they just like, it's like they're trying to money launder in a way. And like, what happened to me? I don't mean that disrespectfully, but like, it's true. You see some of these peeps, you see some of these brands, and they're like coming into the game. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and like put like $1 million into this car, but we're going to go ahead and try and sell it for 5 or 6. It's like, well, where's the cachet? Like, where's the value here? You know what I mean? Like, especially for those electric hypercar brands. And by the way, I don't have a problem with a hypercar brand or a hypercar being electric. Like, because at that point, when you're getting into hypercar territory, like performance becomes like one of the most important things. So like if you put in design plus with something extremely quick, and because electric, especially if you master it correctly, yeah, like that's going to appeal to that respective buyer, and I can respect that. But, and I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper in any way, shape, or form, because I'm not. I mean, if I was a gatekeeper, I would have gone ahead and said, nah, well, Pagani can go ahead and screw off because, you know, Horatio was at Lamborghini for like however long, and all of a sudden, no. That would be disrespectful, right? Because Horatio has been able to go ahead and put his footprint in the game and try and has built something just like Christian has. But like I'm seeing it more and more and more. These people who just say, I'm going to go ahead and build a hypercar and I'm going to go ahead and charge you this much for it. Like, I can appreciate Mate Rimats coming into the game because not only what he created with Nevera and the first concept, but like you see where he is now. He's the CEO of Bugatti, you know, like he's actually doing something with what he's been able to build. Whereas, I don't know, not Pininfarina. I'm trying to, let's use Zinger. I'm not trying to trash him, but like, what is Zinger bringing to the table that's different to anyone else within the game? Does that make sense?
A hot dog style seating.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing crazy about it other than the 3D printed parts, legitimately, which is like, you know, cool.
But everybody else can. Like,
yeah, you're not really pushing any boundaries. You're just like, yeah, we can make that stuff, but it's like HRE unveiled a fully 3D printed wheel 5 years ago. So it's like,
right.
We're not really past the tech, but it's like it's not like it's, oh wow,
mm-hmm.
they put a naturally aspirated W16 into something that would interest me.
Yeah, but how do you see that type of thing biting some of these brands in the ass in the next couple of years?
Yeah, these brands won't be around. I think they'll sell a few cars, and then those few cars will just be like kind of whatever. And I'm sure they'll have like a small market, but they're going to depreciate 100%.
Because there's so small of them. There's so little of them.
Even some Koenigsegg's have depreciated, like Regeras. Like me and Devin talk about this all the time. That's crazy, Devin. Everyone look at Devin's screen right now. Pause for a second.
What was that? I didn't even.
Actually, let's stop talking about what I was talking about. Devin, drop a banger.
No, I can't.
Okay, well,
right.
Everyone, Devin has a pretty crazy car coming here in the next 17 years, depending on whether or not.
Never.
All right, buddy.
But we can't speak about which car that is. Even though if you look hard enough, you can find it. Anyways, what I was saying was the Regera, I mean, it's not doing very well in the current market, which is crazy, but it's also because it's like notoriously not a good car.
Right.
And it doesn't hold like the crazy record like the Agera RS. It's still the fastest car in the world. Like Bugatti did it on their test track at 300 miles an hour, but the Gesco is going to do it on the road, and it's going to murder that top speed.
For sure. I mean, the current record, by technicality, the current record is 277 plus, if I'm not mistaken, right? Bugatti did
7.9 is technically the current record.
Right. And then for those, and then Bugatti did 300, but they only did it one way. And the whole thing, the way, again, I think it's the Guinness World Book of Records acknowledges that if it went one way and then the other, and then it averages out the two speeds into one, if I'm not mistaken. Hence the reason why 277.9 is currently the record.
I'm
And
not talking about Bugatti. Like Bugatti definitely hit 300 miles an hour. That's
they did.
The Super Sport Plus is one of the coolest cars on the market, like 100%.
Yeah.
But by technicalities, Koenigsegg still holds the record. Like it is what it is. Like
it is what it is.
Because if they did the one way thing, I'm pretty sure the Agera RS hit like 286 or 284 or something like that, which is crazy.
288.
Yeah, 288 for years ago. Like how long ago was that? Almost 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Because if you remember in 2019, what are they called? Shelby
no, SSC Tuatara, that
yes. Yep.
That's another one of those cars we talk about that like doesn't make sense.
That car's worth $12 on a high five. I don't care.
Dude,
it is a cool.
I feel bad for that brand.
It looks fast. Like it looks fast for sure, but it is very gimmicky, dude. That car is super gimmicky, which I don't want to talk shit about them. I think it's cool that they're building another car because the original SSC Ultimate Aero was an insane car for its time.
Wild.
Like, unbelievably
that
fast.
Car, what would that do? Like 250 plus?
Yeah, 250. I mean, it took down the Veyron. It was a monster. It was super fast. So
yeah. That brand, I feel bad for them. But they did it to themselves. They 1,000% did it to themselves. Yeah. And they, actually, and when you really think about it, they ruined homeboy from Salamandrin, Buddy. They like nobody took him seriously after that because they basically said, oh, well, the camera did not match up with the speed. Not like, no, dude, you guys tried to go ahead and put out a speed that was entirely inaccurate. And then you went ahead and tried to go ahead and pass it off like it was nothing. And then shout out to Tim, who we just name dropped on the podcast earlier. Big shout out to Shmee 150, who's literally one of the
Hi guys, I'm Shmee.
He's one of the goats. But like, I know people were upset with him, and there was another individual who also did the math at the same time as Shmee did, and both of those guys obviously were right. I mean, it's not their fault that SSC completely dropped the ball. Completely. Yeah.
It's hard to come back from something like that too. Like very hard to come back from something like that.
Extremely.
You got to drop a 300-mile-an-hour run as your average to come back from something like that. It's very difficult.
And even then people are still going to be looking at you and being like, oh.
Yeah.
Do you believe it?
Let's go to do it.
Well, now I know that we're going to get closer to the time, and I want to be respectful of Devin, and I also want to be respectful of Matt and Cody. You've told us that your dad was what got you into cars, plus Forza Horizon and all that good stuff. Shout out to Damon, and shout out to the creators of Forza, because Forza is amazing, obviously. But I'm curious to know, man, with everything that you're doing with Cargroms and with everything that I feel like you encapsulate car culture in such a special way. But what does car culture mean to you at your young age, Devin? And how do you feel like you can continue to evolve within car culture? I know that's a loaded question, but I'll let you answer it however you see fit.
I mean, yeah, like growing up in Orange County, there's like, it's nuts to say, but even our collection of Huayras, Zondas, 918s is, there's a couple others, like I hang out with people that have Zondas, and like we pick up a Huayra BC. There's 20 in parentheses of those in the world. There's more like 26 or 28 if you count prototypes. No, those are roadsters. If you count prototypes and all that stuff, it's more than 20. That's just how it is. There's 4 of those in Orange County.
Damn.
So it's wild to think of, right? You pick up one of 28 car, and
4 of them all exist within the same county is freaking wild.
Yeah, and like even Agera RSs. There's how many Agera RSs are there in Orange County? 5.
26 of the 25.
Yeah, no, Draken, Valhall, Vader, Thor,
Vader,
RS1.
That's Malibu, but close enough. Yeah, so
I mean, that's still LA Metro, right? Obviously. Yeah.
And it's wild to think that those cars are all here. Like, there's not a car that we don't have out here, And it's like, what even with these cars, right? Can I do differently to make this different, right? And I know a lot of the owners of those cars are very nice people, but we drive our cars a lot.
Amen to that.
A lot. We're not one of those people who are like, yeah, we're just gonna stare at it. I remember the first day my dad got that old Wire Roadster, first hypercar he had. He's like, we're gonna do like 500 miles a year. We're not gonna drive that often, like very special events. And the first 4 days, we had 726 miles on the clock.
That's what I'm talking about, bro.
And ever since then, it's like, hey, I was like, so what changed? He's like, that shit's way too fun. I'm like, hey, I mean, that's up to you, brother. So now it's just like we've kind of moved into driving and sharing the cars is more the idea, like I've been very blessed to be put in a spot where I get to drive these. I'm 20 years old and I'm driving around BCs and Zondas and 90 like stuff like kids can only dream. So like for me, my favorite thing to do is to share that with people. Like we were at dinner the other night in Palm Springs and I'm on my phone and I see this kid goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm here. Like, can I get a ride?" And I walked out from mid dinner. I go, "You got 5 minutes, get in the car." And the kid looked at me like, "What?" And I was like, open the door and get in the car. And he was shitting his pants.
Right.
Took him for a ride and we dropped off and I looked at his stories. He had like 10 stories up.
That's
and
what
just
I'm talking about.
Just the reason that you can make someone's day or even like month, like is just, it's all worth it, like from someone who's like used to love R35 and I still do, like I still absolutely love that car. Like moving into stuff that like this really heavy iron and stuff that like will continue to be certain people's dream cars, like I want to make that happen. Like, because I know if I was a kid and I saw someone driving that car around, I would absolutely want the same thing, and like at the end of the day, it is just a car. And as much as we love them, they're just cars. And if you can share an experience with someone that can change their day or their life, it is absolutely worth it tenfold to just take some time out of your day and do it.
Amen to that, bro. I mean, no disrespect to Manny Koshbin, but like,
No, just kidding. Manny's nice, but he's driving his cars.
He's not. That's the thing. He's not driving his cars. Like he's literally got like 70 of them within this warehouse. And I mean, I understand that, and he's got the money. But like the whole point is, it needs to be used. Like it's their artwork, but usable artwork. You're not going to go ahead and buy a $50,000 watch and then just like let it spin on your stand for the rest of its life. If you're going to drop that much money on a watch, I expect you to wear that watch and like really put it to good use. And actually, there's technologies that go along with that. That's the reason why it costs that much money to begin with, is because it is something that's on a different level than something normal. And you spent that much money so you could go ahead and see it function.
Yeah.
When you're in the hypercar game or just in any car game, you know what I mean? Like, shout out to my Kia Sorento, which is right over here. Like, I've got 91,000 miles on that sucker. Do you know why? Because I drive that car because it's a car. That's what you're supposed to do. And if you have a car that is supposed to be smile inducing, such as a hypercar, such as, whether it's a Koenigsegg, a Pagani, a heavy hitter, Lambos, Ferraris, anything of that nature, I don't like to hear when people tell me, "Oh, I only put like 200 miles a year on it," and stuff like that. Why? Do you know how much more happiness would be brought to you from that particular experience or that machine if you were to drive it more often? People think that I mean, the three of you can go ahead and probably attest to this. People have this mentality of, if you drive it less, then the memories become bigger and better once you drive it. But I would disagree with that. I would say the more you drive it, the more you're just going to say, damn, this is why I spent this much money on this car for this experience, because this is why they built it for, right, guys?
Yeah.
I have a lot of good I'd rather have a ton of great memories than one good memory. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like we do a lot of dumb stuff with these cars. I'm like, we took the beat. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and we got Matt around here chasing coyotes around. We just took the B seat in and out, and just like, just dumb stuff. Like, right, we were in the middle of like Orange County, and just like, 1:30 in the morning at In and Out with a BC, and Matt's over here running around chasing coyotes and just like stupid stuff like that. Like we took the 19 to Canes the other night. We take the 19 to Canes a lot, actually.
I was say the 918's been to Canes often, actually.
Like
Very
4 times.
But like all these cars, like it's just fun. Like they're great to drive. Like,
yeah.
And some of them are obviously different driving experiences, all this stuff. But like the more you drive them, the more you get to understand about them. Like I learned a lot about Paganis of just from driving it, right? And learning like what to do in certain situations, like how the shifting works, like all this different stuff. And it's fun driving them, and it's fun. Like I wash all the cars myself usually. Like I like
Not
all
well, but he does do it.
Yes, I wash. Cody thinks I just waterless wash all the cars for some reason. But like it's fun because it's part of owning a car. Like you take care of the car, you make sure it's running good. Like all the stuff is part of owning a car, and that's fun. That's like enjoying the car.
It's part of the experience. Treat the car like a car, and I'm not saying like be stupid, right? Don't curb the wheels. At least I would hope not, right? But like, yeah, but it's just, and I've said this before, cars are different to anything else because it's something usable more so than almost anything else. And yet it can bring you such a very simple yet amazing experience based on an everyday thing. Our society has to drive cars to go ahead and get to places because we now live far from other things or just in general. And when you can go ahead and take a very simple experience such as a drive and elevate that to a whole new level, almost nothing on the planet can go ahead and be the same thing. And I think that's what makes driving such an important aspect, the most important aspect of car culture, more so than the cars themselves. And it encapsulates the community in a really perfect way, right? Because it's an activity that you can do with multiple people, and you guys can all be having almost the same amount of fun, but in different ways. Because Cody could be in the LFA, and then Devin will be in the Wyra, and then you can go ahead and put Matt in a 918, and then all your other homies are going to be in all different other things, right? But like you're all experiencing the same thing, but in a different way. It's such a cool thing. It's I don't know. I'm getting emotional, guys. It's just so much. No, but seriously, that's what car culture is all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've grown up, and every weekend it's like, what show am I going to, or what am I doing? Is Cody coming to California again with Matt and Michaela, or like Cody's definitely coming this weekend because there's nothing close to a California car scene.
That's true. I mean, literally, you were just there. Literally, you just got back the other day, and you're going back. I love it.
Going back next weekend, and he'll probably be here the weekend after that. He's asking me if he should come out this weekend, and it's just like
nonstop.
There's just a lot of things to do with cars, especially if you drive them, and like shout out. I literally just watched like one of my buddy's story highlights popped up. His name's Bob. One slow RX or whatever on it.
One slow CRX.
Yeah, he just put 42,000 miles on his Wyra.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
He's in Florida right now. Drove it all the way from California this week.
Yo, how wild is it to see like just a random? You said a Wyra or a Zonda? You said Wyra, right?
Wyra Roadster.
Wyra Roadster. Just seeing it travel down the I-10 like that's just in the middle of nowhere. That's got to be one of the most wilder sights you can ever experience as a car enthusiast, right?
Jorge, every single time we're in a crazy car, that's literally one of the questions that comes up. We're like, bro, can you imagine just being like a random car dude and you just see
yeah.
Like, could you imagine? It's on the nights that we go somewhere at like 1 a.m. Could you imagine you're just coming home from like a party or whatever the hell you might be doing,
right?
And there's Devin railing the speed limit next to you. Like, can you imagine that? Like, you're just in the Wyra BC and you're just cruising and you're like, whatever, Civic, Subaru, whatever it may be. And you're like, you love these cars and you just have this guy flying past you at 65 miles per hour. It's literally insane.
Yeah. Okay. I remember, we'll finish it on this because we're going to wrap it up right here. Matt, last time you were on, I asked you what the craziest spot was that you've ever had. And I remember it had to have been some type of like crazy Pagani or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Devin and Cody, Devin, for you being in SoCal, but it doesn't have to just be a SoCal spot. It can be an international or anywhere in the country type spot. What has been the most wildest spot of a car that you've seen in action that you were like, what in tarnations is happening?
Car week doesn't count, I assume.
No, it can't.
I
It's got to be
figured
like a
that's not
like a
fair.
normal day. Yeah.
I saw a 250 GTO ripping down PCH in Newport once, and I was pretty.
Yes.
And it was here visiting, and I was like, I was in the Panamera, and I was just driving. And I was like, I looked in my mirror, and I was like, and I thought it was a replica, and it was not a replica
Yeah.
because it was visiting, and I was like, holy shit, like that is wild to me. That was my favorite spot. One of my favorite spots was the whole situation, how we got to go see that CLK GTR in Connecticut, because that was very wild. Because that for me
for sure.
one of my favorite cars. And
CLK GTRs is definitely up there amongst the greatest Mercedes ever made.
The greatest Mercedes ever made.
The greatest Mercedes ever made.
Let's put it this way: people classify a McLaren F1 as the greatest car of all time, and that's the car that whipped the shit out of that car.
That's true. I mean, it's true. I mean, yeah, I'm not. CLK GTRs are dope. I mean, I grew up playing Need for Speed, and the CLK GTR on Need for Speed, I think it would have been Need for Speed 2 or 3. CLK GTR was mobbing on that game on PlayStation. It was just so gangster. I love a CLK GTR. I just, as you know, I'm privy to a 722 SLR, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
But everybody on this call knows,
That's
I
a
am
McLaren.
dumb. But it's a Mercedes with McLaren bits. I mean, they tuned it, but it's still a Merc. That's why it works as compared to other McLarens that don't work.
A long history of that.
Fair.
That's true.
I love talking me some shit on some McLarens. Probably like top 10 things I like to do.
That's probably why we all get along so well.
That and Regera.
Yeah, our hatred for McLaren.
Listen, I mean, I can
Regeras and McLarens.
Yeah. I'll talk crap on a McLaren any day, but one of the better experiences I've ever had in a car was in a 720, and then that will forever live rent free in my head. So I have to do that. I have to just still admit that. How about you, Cody? I mean, you're literally like the car spotter of the Phoenix area. What's been one of the more wilder spots? Can you try and keep it to Phoenix, or whatever, however you want to?
God, my most memorable random spot was in Phoenix.
I'd love to see it. Love to hear. What was it?
Michaela and I were I forget where we were driving from, but the black Enzo drove past going the other direction, and she literally jumped the curb so I could take rollers of it. So that was probably like my most memorable car spot, 100%. Because
okay,
black Enzo is like insanely rare.
I don't care what you think about Ferraris. If you see an Enzo on the road, it will stop you in your tracks.
Oh yeah, you're losing your mind. That's a fact.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's such a crazy spot.
My most memorable random spot.
Yeah, and shout out to Michaela for
California, like luckily I know most of the guys, so it's like I know where the cars will be. So it's not really like a spot. Like this, we were literally cruising, I think it was from lunch, like randomly on like a Saturday or Sunday morning, and I was just like, that was definitely an Enzo. Holy shit. And she's like, do you want me to chase it? And I was like, yeah, chase it. And there was nowhere to turn around. So I was like, hey, we're in the Kia, rip the curb. And she just went over the curb and we went and found it. And it was crazy.
Yo, respect the Kia. It didn't break. No, dude,
that car is so unreliable. It's not.
I want to burn that car to the ground.
My Kia has still been very reliable, but I'm at like 91K and I'm starting to get a little nervous, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you.
If you're at 91K and it hasn't broken down, you're good. We were at 38K and the transmission fell to the floor.
Yeah,
I hate that car.
No, for sure. I mean, somebody said that to me about my old Focus ST. I hit 100,000 miles on my Focus ST and it never blew up. And apparently, like, people knew of Focus STs that had engines blown up at like 25K. And I was like, dear God, like, nah, I'm good. He scared me though, because I was like, was my car a ticking time bomb at this point? It was really wild. By the way, Matt, I forgot to tell you this because I actually thought of this after several weeks, and I know what the craziest spot for me is. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe it would have been a Huracan or something like that. But no, when I went to espressos and engines back in January. Shout out to Jean Paul. Like I know it's a car show and you kind of should expect to see wild things, but when I got there, there was a 250 Lusso pulling away from that event. And now it could have been real, it could have been a kit, I'm not sure, but I don't care. Like a 250 Lusso, like that was wild, just kind of pulling away. It wasn't going crazy speed. It was like literally pulling away from the parking lot. It's like 10 miles an hour. But I was just like, that's a Ferrari 250 Lusso. That's nuts.
That's a pretty neat spot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
That's
it was
definitely
blue. Cody, do you know if that's a real car? The blue one?
It was a real car.
Hell yes.
Yep.
Yes. That's crazy that even exists here. That's crazy that even exists here. All right. Well, hey guys, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time, hanging out with me on a Monday night right before Halloween. It's been such a treat being able to go ahead and catch up with Cody and with Matt, who are my homies. And Devin, I now consider you a homie. And thank you for doing for wanting to go ahead and come on and share your fun stories and share your perspective on car culture. I think you and the Cargroms guys are all doing such a fascinating and cool thing in Southern California, and just continuing to encapsulate car culture as best as you can. And I wish you nothing but success in continuing to do that, because you guys are doing the damn thing, and I got nothing but respect for you guys. So keep killing it, okay?
As always.
The
For
best.
sure. Absolutely. You can go ahead and find Matt on Instagram at bruh_86. Seeing a dope FRS, which is still for sale for anybody who wants to buy it. Yeah. Please.
For a while.
Are we still are you still offering people an LFA for whoever bought?
Yes, a ride in the LFA for whoever buys it. That is true.
100%.
Right.
Whatever he says goes.
Whatever he says goes. I love it. You can find
too.
and you can find Devin at Faster LLC, and of course you can go ahead and find at Cargroms on both Instagram and on YouTube. How many times do you guys release videos? Every couple of weeks?
They release videos when they release them. So unfortunately, guys, just keep the notifications on, and when it happens, it happens.
Wait. December 1st, we're releasing a video every 5 days until the end of December. Christmas.
Oh, I love that. That's cool.
We'll see.
15th, 20th, 25th, and 30th.
I love that. But I do highly recommend going ahead and checking out the library. Like again, that last video that just released right now, it would have been 2 weeks ago. By the time that this drops, it probably will have been a month ago. Or maybe a little more than a month ago, but you'll go ahead and see Devin's Wyra and as the screen, as the thumbnail. Thank you. With the wild freaking shot of the helicopter right behind it. I saw that video and I literally was smiling from ear to ear. And then just the entire catalog is just absolutely wild. It's really insane.
Go watch the Car Week 1 video.
I did just watch it actually earlier during my lunch break, and I was like, this is fucking bananas. So I recommend it entirely. And of course, you can go ahead and follow Mr. Cody Nogowski, who's rocking the Automobili Lamborghini hat, which I need to get one of those, Cody. I need to make it happen. I need to buy one. Screw it. I'll spend whatever I have to. You can go ahead and find him at CJN Photography, and then you can also find him at Cody Nogowski on Instagram, because he posts a lot of stuff with the secured sneakers. Shout out to Secured Sneakers.
If you guys want to see any private pictures of Devin that are like not on the internet, go to Cody Nogowski, because those are the fire ones. Go to my most recent post if you see this on Cody Nogowski, and look for the pizza rocket. It's a fire flick of Devin.
Get away from me. Please do not do
And be on the lookout for Cody being on Tormenting Tarmac a couple of more different times before the end of the year. Definitely doing photography Nights of the Photography Roundtable Part 2. Going to be bringing back on some of your favorite photographers here in the city, Cody included. And then Cody and I have a little special thing that I don't know if I want to mention to the people just yet. I mentioned to a couple people, but this is going to be, it's funny because Cody and I kind of teased it back in June, and the fact that Cody's making it happen for me is one of those special moments that I let's just say that it's one of those special moments for Jorge Aquino, the kid, not the adult, but the kid, that it's finally going to happen for the very first time. And I might cry on camera, and we will be putting that on YouTube if I can go ahead and make sure that my GoPro is working right. It's gonna be special. It's gonna be special. And I can't wait to share it with you guys. But for now, on behalf of Matt and on behalf of Devin and on behalf of Cody, my name is Jorge Aquino. You can find us on Tormenting Tarmac on Instagram and Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, all those places. And this is the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. I hope you guys have a great night and a happy Thanksgiving to you all by the time that this is dropped. Peace.
Peace.